Damn's good eats. Oh, this looks delicious. I chopped up some Easter ham we had left over. Put a bunch of Sweet Baby Ray barbecue sauce in there with it and cut it up into really tiny little squares. And so I'm gonna put this in the freeze dryer. I'm gonna make me some barbecue meals I can have with rice, or put it with some pita bread or something. Reconstitute it. So that's gonna be delicious. And we'll show you how it's done. Hey everybody, Mikeycat Outdoors here. So what are we doing today? Well, got myself a little self-made haircut. Shaved the beard a little bit for the spring weather. And hanging out indoors. Did a little bit of grass mowing and lawn maintenance and junk earlier today. But been cooking up a little bit of barbecue. Took some leftover Easter ham and gonna turn it into some freeze-dried goodies. So let's check it out. Okay everybody, so if you haven't seen one of these before, this is not a washing machine. This is a Harvest Right freeze dryer. So you got an actual freeze dryer unit here. You got a little pad over the doorway and a nice little vacuum seal. And then you've got a vacuum pump down here. It sucks all the air out and it goes through different cycles. So this unit, it's got a nice little display screen there. And you got 4 trays in this unit. So each one of these trays fits a good amount of food. Boy, I'm not getting a good autofocus on this. Here we go. So you fill one of these trays up with food and you put it in there. You got 4 of them. And that rack has little heaters built into each one. So when this is totally evacuated and you don't have any air in there, you get down to a certain vapor pressure in there, and this thing will go down super cold. Basically what will happen then is the vacuum will kick on, the trays will heat up, and any fluid in there that's frozen will, because of the absence of the air pressure, it'll sublimate. It'll go straight from the ice form to a gas, kind of like what dry ice does. So it just totally just whoosh, sucks it out and it takes it all out of the food. So you do that for so many cycles, and there's moisture meters and other stuff in there, but eventually about a day and a half or something later you'll end up having freeze-dried goodies. So you can make 4 trays worth of stuff in this one. You don't have to populate all of them, but you know, sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Just depends. I usually try to mix similar foods in there when I'm doing it. Sweets all together, savory items all together. I try not to mix them because don't really have too much risk of cross flavoring, but I don't want to risk it. So I don't know. It's kind of neat, but we're gonna put some barbecue in there and probably just make a small batch. 1 tray, maybe 2 trays most. I don't have enough to do 4. I mean, I could make more, but I'm just going to make a small batch, and I might throw some other stuff in there. We'll see what I feel like doing. But yeah, once you're done, you put your little thing on the door here. You shut your latch, and you start going through the start menu. And whenever it's all done too, I've got oxygen absorbers. I got vacuum roll bags. Still got some Mylar bags. I've mainly just been using the vacuum ones, and they work out pretty good. So here's my crate of goodies, things that I've made before. A whole variety of things. This was some Meat Market bought barbecue pork where it was like shredded. Those bigger pieces, it reconstitutes, but it was a little harder to do. That's why the stuff I'm making today is going to be real small. Got some biscuits and gravy. Made some Grand's biscuits. Had some canned gravy from Menards. Put that together. That came out pretty good. Sirloin burger soup. Had a can of that. This is pretty good here too. Chicken curry and rice. So I made the chicken into real small little cube pieces, maybe at most a centimeter wide, and made up some rice. The rice freeze dries really well. It had the curry seasoning, all that stuff, coconut milk, all that, cooked it up. Ate a whole bunch of it, freeze dried the rest of it, and those make pretty good meals. Only part that's a little tricky, I got garbanzos or chickpeas in there. They take a little while to reconstitute because they're fairly dense, but you give it enough time, it works out. One of the other things really nice, pistachio ice cream. Yeah, suck that, astronauts. But that stuff's pretty good. I actually took some of it and mixed a little water with it, threw it in the freezer, and made ice cream again. So it's a nice little dessert. Had some pasta and sauce, stuff like that. Spaghetti and meatballs. So the pasta and sauce works pretty good as long as you cook the sauce into the pasta. You don't really want raw pasta in there and sauce on the side because it doesn't have enough time to like soak up the flavors. And if you have like chlorinated water, which is what I did with the spaghetti and meatballs one time, I just left the spaghetti kind of on its own, just dumped some sauce on it. That particular batch didn't come out very well, and the meatballs, being as big as they were, really hard to reconstitute. So that was a lesson learned. When I went to this guy, you know, a couple months later, it wasn't too bad because I cooked everything in, didn't have all the big chunks of anything, you know, and it reconstitutes fairly well. I made up other stuff here too. Yeah, I got more barbecue pork. Got a bunch of Mountain House in here and whatnot too. Lasagna and whatnot. Peaches. Yeah, so that was another good one. Peaches freeze dry pretty well. Blueberries, they're a little trickier. Since they have skins on them, it's hard to get all the moisture out of them. But peaches, apples, sliced fruit like that works out fairly well. Shrimp and rice, that's another good one. So I got like some frozen pre-cooked shrimp, and I used to eat this stuff when I was on nights all the time anyways. But like I say, rice freeze dries really well, reconstitutes well, and then the shrimp, just took some of them and just kind of did them, and it's a nice little meal. Eggs and bacon with ketchup, that turned out all right. Like I said, I put herbs and stuff in there and had the ketchup in with it. Had some bacon and whatnot. Bunches and bunches of free-dried cherries. Had a cherry tree that I got probably like 2 or 3 big bowls. I mean like big bowls. And I just went and took a whole bunch of them, freeze-dried them, took the juice, made cherry wine. Even though I don't drink, my wife liked it. So, you know, there's a lot of stuff that you can do with a freeze dryer. Not just for prepping purposes, but just for saving money on freeze-dried meals for camping. So, I'm going to start this. Please close the drain valve. Alright, so the little drain valve on the side here, and I currently do have it closed. If it's open, it'd be in line, but just close that off. That helps you with making sure you don't have any leaks, and you can eventually get a good you know, vacuum seal whenever that part turns on. I just ran my hose out down to my sump pump, and I just use that when I'm draining. So I'm going to spread this out fairly thin across the trays, and that allows it to, you know, get enough surface area to dry real well. You really don't want to make this stuff real thick in here. So the thicker it is, the longer it's got to take to dry it. And you might end up with, you know, wet spots in the center. And then you got to like flip it and all that. So when you do these, so you try to make it fairly thin and spread out as much as possible. So I'll actually do mine over a couple of trays just so it's not all bunched up and it'll dry a little easier. I'll tell you what, when this stuff is done, it is gonna be delicious. Already is delicious. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. So I got a side dish cooking here. I got some canned carrots. They're already pre-cooked. And I got drained one of them, left the syrup or the liquid in the other, making a little syrup here with brown sugar, a little bit of cinnamon, and I took some marshmallows and melted them in there. So just letting that bake in the flavor a little bit. I'll let this simmer for a little bit, cool down, and that'll make a good accompanying side dish for the barbecue. Thought about baked beans. Of course, you know the the problem with baked beans. You all know that. Besides the fact they'll be a little harder to reconstitute, you also gonna make you toot. So this is probably a nice dessert option. I also got some corn. That always works really well in the freeze dryer. Delicious and nutritious. And there's our beautiful glazed carrots. Yummy. That'll go great with the barbecue. So I just put in the glazed carrots. We got some barbecue, some corn, and some more barbecue up here. So it's starting the freezing cycle. I'm gonna try to get this puppy closed up, let this stuff cool down, and let it do its thing. So this will freeze. It's still got 8 hours left on this cycle, and eventually it'll start sucking all the air out. And when that does, that little guy over there is going to start sounding real loud. Eventually he quiets up, but yeah, it'll go through a bunch of cycles, and sometime probably maybe tomorrow night it might be done. We'll find out. Usually takes good day and a half or something to do them. It varies on the food, how much liquid's in there, how much you have in there too. If you have a small batch, it'll be a lot quicker. But if you pre-freeze everything in your freezer on your trays, you can actually shorten down your freeze cycle here, cut it down to just a couple hours, and you know, it'll cool it down enough. So since these are going in somewhat warm, I don't really have a whole lot of room in my freezer right now, so I just threw them in here. Let's let it do its thing, and we'll come back to it a little bit later. Ah, this is a beautifully quiet machine. So it's been running for about 12 and a half hours. Got 600 and something millitors of pressure in the chamber. That's basically what the compressor and all that good stuff sounds like while it's running, doing a drying phase. So it's got a long time to do this, so it's morning time. I'd expect probably by tonight, maybe tomorrow morning at the latest, that this thing will be done. Kind of depends how much moisture's in there, what it extracts. Most of the time you get lucky the first time through. Sometimes you might, whenever it gets done, you might have to open it up, take stuff out. You'll check it, see if there's any wetness on the bottom. You might have to crumple it up and flip the stuff over and then put it in for like another 2 hours of drying, and that's, you know, usually the most extra time it would take. So alright, we'll check back a little bit later. The moment of truth. I have to open this bad boy up and see how the stuff looks. So it says open the drain valve to vent it. If the product is dry, remove and select defrost. Otherwise, select more dry time if needed. So let's find out. Whew. See how that stuff looks. Looks like it would be fairly dry. Oh man, that's cold. That's some cold stuff, Maynard. It's a barbecue. Barbecue, barbecue, looks like there's still a little something, I don't know. Hard stuff, Maynard. Man, this stuff is cold. How cold? Ice cold! Woo-hoo. And then some. And frostbite holding this stuff. Like a spatula to flake this off of here. I think that's what I'm gonna get. Ooh, look at that. Those, oh shoot, that's cold, are the candied, carrots. Look at that, man. That's a beauty. And last but not least, the corn. Corn always does really well in these. I'm gonna get that stuff out of there with a spatula. So I decided to put it in for a little more time. I extended it out another 3 hours. So I crushed everything up. Put the barbecue and the carrots back on a tray, all crushed up, and that way I get a little more surface area and dry it out a little more evenly. Barbecue, I always want to make sure with meat that it's dry. The carrots with the marshmallow in there was kind of gooey, So there too, I just want to make sure, just for safety's sake, that it's dry. So I just put it in for a little bit longer, and corn came out pretty well. So I expect this stuff will, within 3 hours, it's going to be whatever it's going to be, and then I'll just go and put some oxygen absorbers in there and vacuum pack it and get it ready to go. Hi Trebek, so we meet again. So, this is the end of the extended dry cycle. I'm gonna go ahead and open this sucker up and see how it does. So, open the drain vent. This time there's really not much moisture coming out. The first time there was a whole bunch. Lets all the air back in too, in a sense. So you can open the door. Whew. Looks cold. There's those chunks and the chunks of the barbecue. Yeah. See, now I don't have any glossy look to it, really. Looks a lot drier. So sometimes it's what you gotta do, is just, you know, break it up into chunks and put it back in for a little more if you got something like that. Especially, I guess, syrupy stuff. You make sure it gets dried real well. Now, one of the things I do too is I try to make sure that I get this stuff off the trays and bagged up as soon as possible, because you're going to start having condensation happening on your trays, which adds moisture back in. So try to get it out of there fast. So I'm going to bag these bad boys up. So since they're done, I'm going to put this on defrost. Remove food from dryer, close door for defrost. There we go. So about 2 hours worth. And that'll just get a lot of the moisture and junk out of there, and it's all nice and quiet. And then the fun part is later, after I do all the vacuum packing and junk, I've got to clean out the oil on the pump while it's still warm. At some point, every so often, you gotta take that apart too and clean the junk out of this particular pump. They do have extra pumps on the newer units. They got a smaller hose on the newer ones, but they've actually got an oilless pump that you don't have to do all the maintenance on. But it's like $1,800, so yeah. This was only like a $300 pump, so yeah, for now I'm just using that and going through the oil changes. Got special oil for that guy, black gold vacuum pump oil, and tiny little filter thing that got some oil there that kind of filtered out, but you get all the water and the food particulates and junk out of it. And so, yep, fun times. Let's go bag this stuff up. So we got our Food Saver vacuum packaging system here. Got that many years ago at Cabela's. Little vacuum packer. So you get vacuum bags, and you can get different widths of these. These are the smaller 8-inchers. Used to use a lot of 11-inch wide ones, but this one works fairly good for the freeze-dried foods. So you can pack them into the smaller Mylar bags and whatnot. I'll vacuum pack them in there with a oxygen absorber, and make them into usable portion sizes. Yep. Yeah, excuse my yawning. It's fairly early in the morning. So I want to get this stuff done while I can, and wife's already up, kids are asleep, but man, they could sleep through a bomb. So yeah, this will make a little noise, but it works out pretty good. Alright, so I got some corn in a couple bags. Did a little seam, heat seam there on the bottom, and gotta make sure this bag gets into this little vacuum channel. Put it in there well. Put that down, clamp it, the vacuum and seal button. Oh, wait a minute. Cancel that. I forgot an important step. Yeah, somewhere in here. Here we are. My oxygen absorbers. I need to add one of those into the bag. You may ask why. Well, it helps preserve this for a long time. Especially when you get like meats or anything, you know, fruits and stuff that oxidize and affects their flavor. You add one of these in there, and it's just got iron oxide in there basically. Absorbs any moisture and it seals it. And we're golden, baby. Trim up the bag a little bit, get that extra lip off of there, and got enough headspace in here that if I ever need to reseal it or, you know, use it during the rehydration process, I got plenty of room up here. Hold the water, keep the bag from tipping. It does a little seal at the end. And we is golden. Now let's do the sweetened carrots. Reseal some new bags. So I'll make these bags up for the barbecue. Barbecue, barbecue, Any fans of Emmett Otter out there? Barbecue, It is a very healthy portion of barbecue there. Probably enough for 2 sandwiches. So I split up all my food items into 3 batches. Could have split them up into 4, but now group them together and make them into meals. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. So I have some of these Harvest Right freeze dryer bags, and one bad thing, I tried sealing it on both sides and it just comes right apart. These bags here are a little too thick. I almost have to have like an industrial strength heat sealer. These smaller ones, they're just not going to work with this bag. But I had other Mylar bags that I had real cheap that I got with something one time. They worked fairly well, but I couldn't really find them online during a pandemic. So I got what I got, and yeah. So I'm just going to take all these, I'm going to get the bigger 11-inch bags. I'm just going to package these up as meals and then just vacuum pack the whole shebang, write the labels. So you see, I just kind of write stuff with marker and date it and everything, so it'll work. So I got all the items in a bigger bag. We're just gonna seal that up. Ta-da! Got a fully packed meal. We got carrots, barbecue, and corn. That'll be delicious. So just like that, we got 3 complete freeze-dried meals. I want to do a quick shout out to Lehmans.com. Bought one of these little Amish little tree things for drying out bags, so it makes it really nice for washing your Ziploc bags or whatnot. You know, you can reuse them and keep them out of the landfills and keep from spending so much money on foreign oil and junk, and you know, waste not, want not. So reuse what you got and until they start getting holes or they start getting too gunky. But yeah, it's a nice thing to have. Well, everybody, if you liked what you've seen, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and next time I'll hopefully catch you in the outdoors. So as always, thanks for watching.